Okay. So, yeah, so in this tutorial, I'm going to be talking about groove. If you haven't seen my first video on groove, you may want to check that out first. I think it's called like Ivy Lab J Dilla Rhythms. So this is kind of like a follow-up where I want to touch a little bit more on explaining these two terms, accelerando and decelerando. So real quick, I'll read off the definition here. So you can specify a constant tempo value for a selected range in the song, or a continually increasing or decreasing tempo, accelerando or decelerando, for the selected range. You can hear a preview of the tempo before you apply it to the song, etc., etc. So I think this was for specific like DAW or something, but that gives you a sense of what it is. It's basically slowing down or speeding up instead of staying at a constant pace. But what I'm doing is just taking it a step further and applying decelerando and accelerando as an overlay over a consistent BPM. But I can show you how to achieve true decelerando or accelerando simply just by automating the BPM. So there's multiple ways to do this, and I came up with an idea to show you how it's done, and already did it. So let's go into Ableton here. And here's the thing I came up with. So just to clarify, it's this first bar is decelerando in the hi-hats and accelerando back basically in the reverse to come back here. So accelerando is after decelerando in this arrangement. So the hats are like very slightly slowing down and then speeding back up to catch up with the BPM. And then overlaid, I have a kick and a snare that are on grid, except that I did leave this other kick in a kind of a strange spot to play nicer with the overall groove. So this is not necessarily swing. You can see here I've printed out the hi-hats, so you can really get a good look at these hi-hats. Let me play it for you soloed. Duplicate this. So you can see right here, in the first part of the bar, these hats are perfectly on grid. These are perfect, more or almost perfect triplets. If we zoom real close in, you can see it's starting to fall off the grid. But I programmed these originally to be all on the grid. So I can recreate this very easily by just taking this pattern and how I made this hi-hat pattern. I'm not actually listening to this pitched audio, but listen to this audio. You can hear how it's pitching down. And I did that to just basically explain that or display that usually the easiest way to modulate the speed of something is tape style pitching. So you cannot achieve tape style pitching in a MIDI or in an audio clip in Ableton unless it's on repitch and then you modulate the BPM. So I can show you that real quick with a drum loop. Let's use another instance of Addictive Drummer. So I can just duplicate this Addictive Drummer over to this channel. And let's quickly just bring this down here and set up a resampling channel. So I can just set this to resampling and now it'll record whatever I do. And let's make a perfectly on-grid drum pattern here. So I'm going to find the hi-hats. So let's just do perfectly quantized hi-hat pattern. Just a basic pattern. All right, so that'll be fine. So I'm going to resample that. So now if we set this audio clip here to, I'm going to turn it up a bit. So if we set this to repitch mode, you can see then when we go to modulate in the clip, it's grayed out. It won't let us do it. It would be cool if it would. That would be very cool. But what we can do here is just right-click and show automation for the BPM. And then if I modulate this down, you'll hear the audio clip will pitch along with it. So this is a really nice way to actually get some cool pitch bends because you have the option to do exponential curves like this that can sound very tapey. So this is kind of a fun sound design thing to do. See, it has a certain sound to it. It's like a super clean pitch bend. So you can get a lot of these cool kind of exponential rhythms this way. But one thing I like to do instead, and this is how I made that other loop that I showed you first, is to take it and put it in a sampler, because the sampler has that same pitch bend effect. The simpler has the stretching algorithms like grain, beats mode, but the sampler just has this tape style modulation of the pitch. So if I put a C3, that'll be the original pitch of the sample, which means it'll be perfectly in time with the BPM that I wrote it at. So I can now specify a small range so that we really have fine tuning. So let's just do 7 on the pitch bend range. And now we can go into our clip, select envelopes, and then choose MIDI control. And I usually like to put 1 dot at the beginning and 1 at the end to kind of tie in whatever I do, and so the pitch bend doesn't get stuck. And then we can make a ramp down here, and you'll hear that the rhythm will change. So that would probably not sound good if there was a kick and snare in there and everything was slowing down at the same amount. But listen to what happens when you put a regular synced up sort of kick and snare. So that's probably a bit too extreme, so I just did that to demonstrate. Let's try something a bit subtler. It's kind of sloppy. It feels like maybe a little too much still. And something that helps is to just offset them to make them late. So what I'll do is get the align delay out. You could alternatively just use... Oh wait, I think I have a preset. Do I have a preset? No, that's the Haas preset. So I'm going to just put this at about 23 milliseconds. Maybe less, maybe 10. So maybe doing it over 2 bars is not sounding right, but what if we do it over just a single bar? So what I like to do is give these a little bit of an exponential curve to them. Or I guess that would be logarithmic. We could try exponential, like this, like a plucky shape. Still maybe too much, so let's go in and reduce our range to maybe 4. Alright, we're getting closer, but let's throw this in the group that has the sidechain on it. So I have a secondary drums group that has a sidechain on it, so that the kick and snare will make things get out of the way. Alright, so then what if we reverse this one? Something like this, and I'm just selecting and then using Control to do that. And then maybe a little less of this curve. Let's give that a shot. Let's delay the whole thing a little more. So eventually I was just messing around and I got this. And so what I did was I basically modulated just like I did here. Where is it? I modulated just like this, but a bit less, and got a kick and snare to sound good with it. And then instead of using the pitched version, which is right here, turned off, I used the Addictive Drummer. And basically I just dragged this bounce version in so that I could easily get that exact rhythm by just lining up the MIDI notes roughly. This is a little bit off actually, hold on. Oh, that's because I dragged all the MIDI notes right as well. So I'm just going to hold Control and Shift to be able to drag these MIDI notes from outside, and then hold Command down, and that'll turn the grid temporarily off so I can slide this and fine tune it. So if I line this back up, you can see these hits are off grid because I pitched it and then bounced it on this white audio clip. And so these are slightly going out of time, doing the decelerando and then accelerando back into the 1 where it repeats. And I used these bounces as just a way to line these MIDI notes up and get that nice, perfect, like automated sounding bend in the time. You know, it's a bend in the consistency of the BPM of the hats. So I think it's a cool effect once you then put it back in a normal drum kit, so it sounds like this, because now it's not being pitched around, it just has that groove. notice how when you put the kicks and the snares like perfectly on grid here, it sounds kind of nice rubbing against those hats. It's like, it's nice to have some things that are perfectly quantized rubbing against things that are unquantized, because it creates almost a balance in the rhythm. It gives the illusion that the kicks are rushing and the snares are rushing without that perfect kind of, because it's so important for those kicks and snares to hold down the BPM, you know? So in this way, they can hold that BPM down and still give the illusion that they're rushing, when in reality, the hats are slowing down and speeding up. And you can apply this same concept to melodics. So I could simply just take this MIDI clip now, because it's like a template for my accelerando, decelerando thing. And I could just paste it onto a MIDI channel with a phase plant on it. And now I can get maybe a little melody going on. I think this I need. Yeah. So that's our clip there. And then let's make this a nice purple. So I can like consolidate these, pitch them up a bunch. And then maybe we have a scale plugin, and in the scale plugins there's all these cool scales you can just preset in. So we could do maybe I don't see it in here. I thought there was a gypsy scale in here. Messian? Huh. Phrygian. Let's try Phrygian. Yeah, I like that. That's kind of interesting. We can always offset it. So what if we just take this all and offset it by that much? Fine-tune the placement, sometimes I use Command and then the arrow keys, and that'll just nudge things by a little degree. We could maybe, to spice things up, do a sample and hold, and then we could get an LFO and a random out, and we could turn these up. I'll turn the smooth and the speed. And then we'll keep this at a random speed and maybe just draw in. This is a cool mode where you can just draw in complex envelope in 2 seconds. So we could maybe do this, and then will it let me put 2? Yeah. It'll let me put 2 in the sample and hold, which is really cool, because then we get like a combination of the both. And then we could maybe modulate this one with that one, and that one with this one, and ooh, look, Faceplant 2 lets you cross-modulate. We didn't used to be able to do that, or we didn't used to get to do that, or whatever. And now I can just map this to the frame, and I'll get like a different timbre per note. So one thing we could do is we could use a delay to make this late. So I'll get the align delay out again. We can make the whole thing late. So if we go first and make this early, we use Shift Control Command to drag this early real easily. And then we can use the align delay to delay it instead. That way the beat repeat's also going to be slightly in the pocket. Bring this chance down, it'll happen less often. See, I've been messing around with a more subtle swing where it almost sounds like it's quantized, but it's like slightly off, and for some reason it gives it like a different vibe. So yeah, just check some of that stuff out and let me know what you think. And yeah, until next time, I'm Sephiros. Thanks for watching. Big up and peace.